Next question is, do you actually interact with the TYT crew? Like tweets, PMs, email, phone, Skype? What's a PM? I don't even know what that is. How much, how often, regular powwows? No. So I'm close with Aaron Wysocki. He's the social media guy who I have a meeting with every 2 weeks. In terms of other people there, the only other one that I talk to on a fairly regular basis is Steve-O. Steve-O is the CFO of the Young Turks. I think it was him and Aaron that specifically that brought me into the network. In terms of Jank, no. He's really, really busy with his show. I'm really, really busy with my show, so we don't really talk. Anna, not really. I think we've just basically said hi to each other once or twice. And that's pretty much it. And, Jimmy Dore we had on the show. But the one person who I do talk to, he's part of the network, but he's not at TYT. I've become pretty good friends with David Pakman. So he's in the New York area. I'm in the New York area. And we become buddies. So that's nice. Next question is, where do you stand on Scottish independence? Great question. I don't know. Because everything I cover on the show is in like the 20 to 30 websites that I visit on a daily basis to get the information for the show. And I just haven't come across any articles that really went into detail about Scottish independence. So I have to say at this point I'm agnostic about it. But I will say that just in general, as a very broad general statement, I lean towards letting people do what they want to do, whether it's a good idea or a bad idea. Okay, so for example, if you point to, how Texas wants to secede in the U.S. and they've been pushing it for a while and stuff, and, liberals always have this reaction like, they want to secede. Oh, they're so stupid. I'm one of the few that's like, yeah, it's stupid, but is there a chain of events, a sequence of events that would lead to breaking up the U.S. into, like, an EU-style system where you could turn the U.S. into, like, 6 or 7 different countries, some of them super liberal, some of them conservative, that I would be in favor of? Sure. It depends on at what time you're talking about it, what's going on in the world, what's the reasoning for wanting to break it up, just how much are the red states holding back the blue states, so on and so forth. So I lean towards always, siding with let people do what they want, even if it might be a little silly. Like, the Kurds, for example, I'm in favor of them having Kurdistan. In terms of Israel-Palestine, I'm in favor of a two-state solution. Both get UN recognition. And the list goes on and on. So I don't have an answer. I'm agnostic on it. I'd have to read all the details. But I usually lean towards, sure, in some cases it makes sense to create new states and to change things up. Next one is, what is your opinion on euthanasia or medically assisted suicide? I'm for it. The only questions I have where I'm not sure yet are what stripe of physician-assisted suicide am I for? So am I in favor of people killing themselves whenever they want, under any circumstance, for any reason? I might be. Again, I prefer to lean on the side of freedom. And the only thing I struggle with there is, well, okay, what if it's an 8-year-old? What if it's a 13-year-old and they want to kill themselves just because they're depressed? Should you need parental consent? Should there be a minimum age? I don't know. There's a good debate to be had, a good argument to be had. I might be in favor of some regulations. I might be in favor of limiting the reasons why you can do doctor-assisted suicide and to come up with some sort of an area where we can all agree as a society, like, this is the sweet spot. It makes sense to kill yourself if X, 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 and X, you know what I mean? Or A, B, C, and D. These reasons are met. So I'm not sure exactly what kind of physician-assisted suicide I favor, but I'm certainly in favor of it. Next question is, in 2016, if Hillary is the Democratic candidate, will you be voting for her? They continue, is there anyone on the right that you would vote for over Hillary? Who would you like to see run on the Democratic side? So there's a few questions there. To answer each of them, is there a conceivable scenario where I hold my nose and vote for Hillary? Yes. But I would be holding my nose to vote for her. If it's Hillary versus Ted Cruz, I'm voting for Hillary 13 times over. If it's Hillary versus Marco Rubio, I'm voting for Hillary. If it's Hillary versus Chris Christie, I'm voting for Hillary. If it's Hillary versus pretty much any Republican, I'm voting for Hillary. In terms of a question where it's tough, if it's Hillary versus Rand Paul, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know. That's a tough one. Because Hillary is probably a little bit more with us on social programs and the economy. But Rand Paul is more with us on foreign policy, on the NSA, and on some other drugs and on some other issues. So that's a tough one. I don't know what I would do in that scenario. I'm being totally honest with you guys. In terms of what Democrats would I like to see run, the obvious ones. Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, Alan Grayson. Next question is, why do you think Elizabeth Warren sold out to the Zionists? I actually don't think she sold out to Zionists. I don't think this is a money issue. I don't think she's doing anything for financial reasons. I think she's principled and wrong. On the issue of Israel-Palestine, for those of you who don't know, Elizabeth Warren defended the bombing of schools and hospitals and stuff like that. I think she honestly believes her position fully. I think she's just right-wing on the issue of Israel. I don't think it has anything to do with money. I just think she's principled and dead wrong on that issue. Next one is, who would you want as the next president? Well, unfortunately, I don't know of any politician who's right on absolutely everything, in my opinion, but probably the closest thing to right would be Alan Grayson. I think he is right on everything, again, except Israel-Palestine. And on the issue of Israel-Palestine, he might be slightly less wrong than Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders. So that's my answer. Next is, if you had to choose a current Republican politician to be president, who would it be? Rand Paul by a mile. Next is, are most feminists misandrists, or does feminism have a need in our society despite its nuances? That's an interesting question. For those of you who don't know, and I didn't know, I had to look it up. Misandrist means just they hate males. They have a bias against males. They just don't like them, right? I certainly think that extreme feminists do hate men. I do believe that. There's been, in the past I would have said no, but I've read some stories recently that made me go, oh wow, these are really stupid people. So extreme feminists, yes, I do think they hate men. Do I think that's a majority of feminists? Absolutely not. I think probably the majority of feminists believe in the same kind of feminism I do, which is the radical idea that women should be treated as equal to men and are equal to men. And I don't like when people, especially with feminism, a lot of people seem to take the worst of the worst and just paint the whole movement as if they're that. But that's silly and that's stupid. It wasn't that long ago that women weren't able to vote. So the idea that, all sexism is gone from the society, it's total bullshit. Even the pay discrepancy, and even the pay discrepancy for the same work is still 90 cents or 91 cents to the man's dollar. That's a fucking problem, man. That's a problem. So to pretend like there's no validity to feminism is nonsense, and I don't like it when people take the extreme and define it as the regular person, because it's just not true and it doesn't reflect the reality. Next is Simpsons or Family Guy. That might be the hardest question yet, because that's like saying blowjob or sex. I don't know. That's like saying, do you want the west side of heaven or the east side of heaven? Well, it's fucking heaven. I don't know. They're both fucking fantastic. So I love both, but if I had to pick one, I'm going Family Guy. But if you add South Park into the mix, that's way too close. It's a tie between all three, but I might have to go Family Guy, South Park, Simpsons. Next is, what's your guilty pleasure? Masturbation. No, I'm kidding, partially. I'm a big golf fan, and I play golf a lot. Huge Tiger Woods fan. I'm a big poker fan, and I play poker a lot. And I'm also the laziest guy on the planet. So a weekend for me involves a beer, a recliner, a laptop on my lap, a TV in my face, and that's it. And I don't want to do anything on the weekend because I work hard during the week. Next is, do you get chastised for calling out racism? Yes and no. Yes, because I get the white guilt shit a lot from dumbasses on the internet. Like, oh, white guilt. Ha, this guy's so guilty because he's white. No, I never did anything wrong to anybody, so I don't feel guilty at all. I'm just pointing out historical facts. And historical facts, I'm sorry, show that in American history, the white people are the fucking bad guys most of the time. It's just the reality. Who did the Native American genocide? Who did Jim Crow? Who did segregation? Who did slavery? It's a reality. If pointing out facts makes you a guilty white person, then I'm a guilty white person. Okay? So I just get that. Other than that, not really. And I think that's because I don't really have any Republican friends. I have, obviously, progressive friends, and other than that, I have libertarian friends. I don't have any, hardcore conservative friends because they're usually not smart, and I guess I don't like I don't like dumb people. All right, next. You don't talk about George Carlin much. What issues was he dead on about? Are there any issues you think George Carlin was wrong on? I think I spoke about him once or twice on the show. I guess I just don't speak about him because he doesn't like come up much in the stories I do, so there's really no reason for me to bring him up. But no, I love him. I think he's fantastic. One of the greatest comedians of all time, in my opinion. Certainly a brilliant guy. In terms of stories I disagree with him on, probably very little. I mean, he might be a little bit more liberal than me. He might be a little bit more of a revolutionary than me. But I think he's probably right on the biggest issues. And actually, maybe on the issue of abortion, I saw him do a rant once. It seems like he would be in favor of abortion until like 3 seconds before the child is born. I'm moderate on the issue of abortion. So it's the woman's choice 100%. I agree with Roe v. Wade. So it's the woman's choice 100% until like 20 or 23 weeks when you're more at the viability stage or when the nervous system has developed in the fetus. And then after that, I'm only in favor of it in terms of life of the mother, rape, incest, or fatal fetal defect. I'm not in favor of, abortion until the last minute for any reason whatsoever. I believe in a moderate policy. He was probably just pure, until 3 seconds before the baby's born, you could do an abortion. That might be one of the few disagreements. All right, next. Do you read philosophy? Yes. The only thing I really read now is the news articles because I'm really busy with it, so I don't want to read on the weekends because I'm so tired from reading during the week. But yes, I read a lot of philosophy. I'm a fan of the empiricist school of thought. And if you'd like to know which I recommend, Hume is probably my favorite. And by the way, not because I agree with all these guys on everything, just because I think it's interesting, but Hume I like. I liked reading Locke, I liked reading Hobbes, and I liked Bertrand Russell. And I would avoid the ancients if I were you. I'm not a fan of the ancients. Next. Which European country is best to take as a role model for America? Easy. Norway, Denmark, Iceland, Sweden, Greenland, Finland, the Scandinavian region of the world. They are the hope of the world because they have universal health care, universal education, the best middle-class incomes per capita, the highest happiness levels, the best education systems. They have created a perfect mix, in my opinion, between capitalism and socialism, and they've created the happiest people. They get the most vacation time. I would like to have systems exactly like theirs. Next is, what is your opinion on one world government? I like the UN. I like having some sort of body where they can come together and make decisions, international courts, international law, stuff like that. In terms of like a central one world government that could actually have control over every area and be efficient in terms of delivering justice and whatnot, I don't think that's possible. Okay? And I think the conspiracy theories about them, like Agenda 21 is coming to kill us all and the NWO is coming to kill us all, they're mostly not true. They're a little silly and overstated and largely made up. So one world government, no, you can't do a full-on one world government that controls everything, but I support the UN, I support international law and the international community. Next is, if you could switch places with one person, who would it be? Tiger Woods. Tiger Woods in the height of his having sex with random women and winning golf tournaments. That's a serious answer, by the way. Or just Tiger Woods at any point, because I would love to know what it's like to be the number one golfer in the world and to feel what it's like to play as the number one golfer in the world. Or the second one is Bill Maher, because he does something very similar to what I do, and I'd love to run the show real time, because I think I could do a better job than him. I know that seems incredibly arrogant, but I think I could. And I also love stand-up. I'm not a stand-up comedian, but whenever I have done public speaking, I'll do some jokes, and I love the feeling of the laughter that you get when you deliver a joke well. And he travels the country and does stand-up, and I'd love to have that feeling too. Next is, what does your family think of your show? Are they supportive? Well, my dad's dead. That kind of crushed the mood, didn't it? No, he's been dead for a while, and he was never around while I did this for a living. So no idea what he thinks. If I had to guess, he'd just be proud of me because I'm his son. If I did anything, if I farted, he was like, there's my son. So it doesn't matter. I mean, I think the dad always supports the son. Or in a lot of cases, I can't say in every case, that's certainly not true. In a lot of cases, the dad is just proud of the son, no matter what. I think he would have been. And my mother is an angel. You know, it's amazing how, like, when I left I worked at a car dealership, didn't really like it, left there, didn't know what the fuck I was going to do, and the show just kind of blossomed out of that. she was supportive of me, like, not earning money for a very long period of time trying to get the show up and running. So she supported me throughout that whole thing, and she used to be. She's from New York like me, so she was like a liberal Republican growing up, but now I think I convinced her. She votes pretty solidly Democratic from here on out. All right, next is, when will you run for office? Never. Next is, what made you become a radio host, and what are your plans for the future? I don't know what made me become a radio host. It just kind of happened after I left the car dealership. I mean, I started Secular Talk in 2008 to do some videos every once in a while. It was just fun to fuck around and do them. But I didn't do it for a living back then. Then we started the internet radio show. I didn't do that for a living either. But then when I left the dealership, I started doing it full time, and then it eventually blossomed into I was able to make money from it, and I was doing it all the time, and I was just addicted to it. So there was never really a conscious choice. It just kind of happened. And I think it just kind of happened because I was obsessed with it. And I did nothing but it for so long that it blossomed into something. Next question is, I'm almost done here. I know I've been going for a long, long time. When did you... Oh, I'm sorry. To answer the second part of the last question, what are your plans for the future? Don't have any. I'm going to continue to do exactly what the fuck you're looking at me doing right now because it's fun, and I make enough where I can pay the bills, and I enjoy it, and I think you guys enjoy it, and that's all that fucking matters, and I'm not going to stop doing the show until I fucking die. Next question is, when did you become an atheist? Good question. Probably when I was about 14, 15-ish. Whenever I read The God Delusion by Richard Dawkins, which to this day is one of my favorite books, you could be a moderately religious person or on the fences or you never thought about the issue. If you read The God Delusion by Richard Dawkins, you'll walk away from that thing calling yourself an atheist or an agnostic or a secularist, guaranteed. Okay? Read that book if you haven't. I mean that. Next is, what made you left? Was it something you liked on the left or disliked on the right? Your parents, etc. No, my dad was apolitical, didn't really give a shit about politics, but whenever he did make a political comment, he was all over the place, not consistent at all, some really liberal beliefs, some really conservative beliefs, some conspiracy beliefs, etc. Just didn't care about politics. My mom, like I said, was like a liberal Republican, but now I think she votes Democratic every time. What made me left? Probably the fact that when I got into politics, I came at it from two extremes. One was I would watch Bill O'Reilly's show every night, not because I agreed with it, because I liked his presentation. I thought he was a great talker. I'd watch his show, and I saw the 9/11 conspiracy truther movie. So I got varying different opinions on the same issue, and I was fascinated by that people could disagree on the exact same fucking thing. Like, how can you have such radically different opinions on the same thing? And then that sparked the interest to learn about stuff and read more about stuff. And what I found is that the more I read, the more I learned, the more I realized the right-wingers don't know what the fuck they're talking about, and what they're saying is simply not true. They're just not right about stuff. And the liberals were just more correct. So I side more with the progressives in the U.S. I always add this caveat, though. Internationally, I'm a centrist. I consider myself an international centrist or moderate or independent. It's just in the U.S. I seem progressive because the right-wingers are so fucking crazy. And final question, how long do you need to prep for the show, and what do you do on a typical workday? Wake up at 9 o'clock, read until about 2:30 or 3 o'clock, prepare about 15 stories, break them down in the right order, get all the clips right, and then come on air, do the show, get off air. Second I get off air, upload all the video and the audio and whatnot, clip it up, throw it on YouTube. By the time that's done, it's about 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning. So I work from 9 o'clock in the morning to 12 or 1 o'clock at night. The only part of that's actually work, in my opinion, everything that happens after the show. The editing, the uploading, all that bullshit. It's annoying. It sucks. I wish I didn't have to do it, but I have to do it to get it all up there. Preparing for the show, reading for the show, putting everything in order, and doing the show is more fun than anybody could ever imagine. And with that, I end the Q&A. I hope I did not bore you to death.